Daily Broadside, day 613. I have in my life been to many mountain cabins. I say many, several mountain cabins with different women over a period of time in my life. Almost a half a century old. It's happened on several occasions. And funny thing about it, I can remember who I was with, where I went, what the house looked like. I could about draw the floor plan, what we ate, what we did, pretty much, that kind of stuff. None of it's really blurry to me at all. And some of these things go back decades, and yet, if you had watched the Fani Willis trial last week, which if you haven't, I implore you to go back and watch, because it is just a travesty of courtroom decorum, from the beginning to the end, from her father to Mr. Willis, her boyfriend. This is obviously the Georgia prosecutor who's going after Trump, who has now been brought up, her boyfriend, on charges of like fraud, well, I guess embezzlement. I don't know what the actual charges are, but basically he was getting paid $1 million+ while the other two prosecutors were getting paid like penance, relatively speaking. And it was all funneled through her, and there was some misgivings and some bad things that happened, and some fiduciary means that were not exactly held to the wire. And then he gets on the stand and is asked that question. In the last year, and they were talking about August of last year, in the last year, August of 23 specifically, did you go to a mountain cabin or rent a mountain cabin? Now, mind you, this mountain cabin was like $1,400, I want to remember. So it's not like, it would be a night at the Motel 6. This is a chunk of money that you put down for this weekend and all. Have you been to a mountain cabin with Mrs. Willis? Fani Willis, which I can only pray is a nickname and not her God-given name. But anyway, and he takes a while. I'm thinking her name is like Stephanie, Stefani, and she goes by Fani. That's just my guess. I don't really know. But he's like, it takes like 45 seconds to answer, I don't remember. Man, come on. I mean, why don't you just say, I just want y'all to believe I'm lying? It's like when people plead the fifth. 99% of the time when people plead the fifth, they did whatever the person is accusing them of doing. That's just, and if they didn't, we're assuming they did. So it doesn't really matter. But I implore you to go back and watch this, because it was really stupid, and disrespectful, man. I assume this is the courtroom that she, works in as a prosecutor. But the judge in this case, who I assume is her golfing or lunch buddy, because she talked to him like a rented mule, just a beaten pony, and he did nothing to direct her to remember the decorum with which we are operating under in this court of law, because he just let her run rampant. I mean, she might as well have been the judge. It's ridiculous, but still amusing. Couldn't take my eyes off it. For a while there, I was on Fanny Talk, because that's all I brought up, anyway. If you think about when you ride by a construction site on the highway and byways of this fine land that President Eisenhower started for us, that have made our lives so much easier from the 50s to now, you see these big shoring, metal shoring things, look like big H's, and they put them down in the pits and the troughs and all the things that anything over like 5 feet, I think it is, they have to shore it up so that nothing gets caved in on them and they don't die. Because there's nothing worse than dying from aspirating dirt and suffocating. They say, and I don't know how they know this, but they say that mentally and physically drowning is one of the worst, horrific ways to die. And I can kind of wrap my head around that, whatever. I choked on a piece of bacon one time, like an entire piece of bacon that was like all the way down my throat. I ended up having to pull it out. It was quite the feat, but I couldn't breathe for a while. And it's a little touch and go there. So I can understand not being able to get oxygen and realizing you're not a fish, realizing you're not Aquaman, and you're mortal. But anyway, you see these things, and they're there for a purpose, because I believe over the past weekend, another small child or young child, I don't really know how they were, died from a large pit that they dug on the beach when it caved in with her and her brother. I think the brother is in intensive care, may live, may not, I don't know. And I am certainly not making light of the situation, but I don't understand the negligence with which parents would allow their child to just dig this pit of death next to them. And then, and then they said that they dug for 15 minutes, several men. I don't know how big this hole was. obviously big enough to fit a Daihatsu in, apparently, because there were several men and adults digging and digging for like 15 minutes. They couldn't find them. That's crazy if you think about it. You think that even if I had like a 10 by 10 hole and 4 other friends, and you said, all right, go find the dummy that we've buried in the sand, I feel like in 15 minutes I could do it. That's like an event on Double Dare from Nickelodeon, you know, reaching up in a nose to pull out some booger flag or whatever. Anyway, you gotta do the 3 S's, and I don't remember what they are. It's slope it, shore it, and safety it. I don't know what the third one is, but yeah, you gotta think. You can't be letting your kids dig holes, and don't be a jerk off and leave the hole there for some other beach goer to fall in and have their own problem. Put the dirt back in the hole, or better yet, don't dig a hole. Just dig something that's like 18 inches deep. Period. They say not to bury yourself more than your knees. And I'll tell you this, I buried myself up to the neck one time in sand on the beach and let the water run over me. I had been watching one of the creep shows, and I just wanted to see what it felt like. I'm going to tell you what, that's scary, because once the water runs over your body, and I had people there to dig me out, but once the water runs over your body, it just locks you in. And no amount of strength can pull it. It's crazy, the suction and all that. So not a cool way to die. What was that, Ted Danson that died that way? Anyway, so watch your kids, don't dig holes, and shore up your construction sites. You got to consider the fact that bears, there's nowhere you can really go in a house on the first floor, you know, or that doesn't have like some kind of safe room or something. Because let's say you're out in the middle of the woods, back to a mountain cabin. Let's say you're mountain cabining with Fannie Willis and Mr. Wade for the weekend, and a bear comes up to the house. Can't climb a tree to get away from it. You can't run to get away from it. You can't really stay in your damn house. Your car is your best option, because, you know, being able to punch through tempered glass is very difficult as long as the window's all the way rolled up, even for a bear, you know. They might be able to do it, but guess what you can do in the car? It's motorized. It's a motorized conveyance. You can turn the key and get out of there. But in a house, they can bust down pretty much any door. They can find you in the closet you're hiding in. I mean, like, there's nowhere you can run from a bear other than a car if you're just out in a house. You know, you tree house, nothing works. Nothing works. You could bury yourself in the ground like in a bunker or something, but when you going to come out? You got a camera to let him know when he's gone? You don't know. And once you crack that thing open, he's going to rip you apart. It's just crazy to think that bears are the last bastion of animals that you just can't really escape from very easily. Crocodile, I'll climb a tree 5 feet and bam, what's he going to do? You know, boop him on the nose, as they say, and he'll go away. But a bear, not so much. So watch out for sand holes, watch out for bear, and watch out for mountain cabin expense accounts. Giddy.